And every week we go live right here on both the YouTube channel and in my Facebook group, giving you everything you need to know to start and grow a six-figure bookkeeping business. If you are on YouTube, we're streaming live on both YouTube and Facebook. If you're on YouTube, be sure you check out the link in the description below and join the Facebook group if you're not already a part of it, okay? And if you're on Facebook, be sure to use that link in the description to subscribe to my YouTube channel so you can get notified of new videos. So I am really, really looking forward to this Booming Bookkeeping Live because demand right now is at an all-time high for bookkeepers. We have people in my mentorship programs getting clients every day. Demand is just really, really hot right now. So I'm my email box is overflowing with people reaching out, asking questions about their particular situation, questions they have about getting started. And hey, whether you work with me or you work with somebody else or you just figure it out on your own, I want you to get started, okay? It's a really great time to get started. Business owners are scrambling to get their books in order, to file their taxes. So demand is really, really hot. So I'm here just to answer any and every question you have about getting started. I have some that some people have sent in. I also encourage you, whether you're on YouTube or Facebook, just type your question into the chat box on YouTube or in the comments on Facebook, and I will go through them and I'll answer everything you guys have about either starting or growing. Okay, so if you already have an existing bookkeeping business, let's talk about growing it quickly. Okay, so with that said, let's go ahead and open it up for questions. Again, just a reminder, be sure to subscribe to the channel on YouTube to get notified of future videos and join that private Facebook group where we're always talking about all of the latest and greatest strategies, both to get clients, to grow your business, handle consultations better, price your services more appropriately to maximize profitability, all that fun stuff. Okay, so let's just jump right into the first question that I was emailed when I sent out the email to everybody announcing the live, which was how long it should take to get your first client. And honestly, it's going to vary based on your specific situation. Okay, we have some people who come into the program who are brand new. They don't really know a whole lot about what bookkeeping even is, okay, what's involved on a day-to-day basis. And the program is focused on just getting you to be a really great bookkeeper, getting you trained up so you're doing great work, and then helping you get clients. And typically, if you're able to devote between 5 to 10 hours to the training, you can expect to finish in about 6 to 8 weeks. And in that time frame is when you can start to expect to see clients as well. Okay, about 6 to 8 weeks. Now, we have some people who join, and again, whether you join or not, if you're using the marketing strategies that are the most effective, okay, it's important to use the marketing strategies that are effective. There's a lot of things we could be doing. Let's focus on what's effective and what's scalable. Okay, just because something works once or twice, that's great, but can we scale it? So can we grow quickly? As long as you're doing those things, you'll get clients quickly. So we have lots of people we've got CPAs in the program that have been in the program, they've been practicing CPAs for 30 years. Okay, we have people with existing bookkeeping businesses. They join just because they want that, kind of the second half of the program, which is, marketing and pricing and consultations. For those people, obviously you can get clients a lot quicker. Okay, so either way, whether you're brand new or you've got existing experience, you've got an existing business, you can hit the ground running pretty quickly. Okay, we've had people join and the next day get a client because they use kind of that first strategy that I talk about in the course, which is a really great way of using Facebook on your personal profile to broadcast that you've just gotten started. Okay, so it can happen quickly. It can happen very, very quickly. 6 to 8 weeks is what you can generally expect. But if you're already starting with experience, you can make it happen a lot quicker. a lot more quickly. In fact, I would say with somebody who was getting started with existing experience, QuickBooks certified, all that fun stuff, you could get a client by the end of the week. Okay, if you start using the strategies that are super effective. Okay, so that's a really great question, and it's probably one of the most popular questions that we get. I see a comment on YouTube from I Love It. Love it, love it, love the name. Hi, I reside in Nevada State, but intend to register my bookkeeping LLC in Wyoming. What is the tax implication, if any? Well, it's a good question, but I'm not going to dive into tax questions on this live. Okay, especially number one, we're focusing on building a really profitable bookkeeping business. But number two, although I am a CPA, I strictly focus on bookkeeping. I was crazy enough to think I wanted to do tax work. And after a couple tax seasons, I said, you know what? I much prefer helping small business owners grow. And I can do that more effectively when I'm intimately familiar with their books. So it's a lot more lucrative. I don't have to deal with complex tax laws, changing tax laws, clients getting notices throughout the year and having to drop everything and look into those notices. So I'm not the best person to ask your question because it may depend on your specific situation. M.A. Tangert, hey, thanks for coming. Thank you for this review. How much time studying is needed before you reach a good point to offer services confidently? So that's going to be in about the 6 to 8 weeks range. Okay, if you're able to devote between 5 to 10 hours to your training, you can get to a point where you have a solid foundation and you can do really good work. Now, it's important to understand that you will never know everything there is to know about bookkeeping or QuickBooks. You just won't, okay? QuickBooks is always changing, always updating. And when it comes to bookkeeping, you're always going to find a new situation that you haven't seen before with new clients, okay? But the bulk of what you'll do is pretty standard and pretty straightforward. And so it's important to get a solid foundation of knowledge in place and then know where to look when you encounter those things you've never seen before, okay? And that's what like a mentorship program can do for you. Also, if you're really great at Googling, I remember when I started, I was every 5 minutes jumping on Google. How do I do this? Basic stuff. Okay, takes a lot longer than just reaching out and asking somebody for the answer, but you can get there as well. Okay, so keep that in mind. All right, if you wait until you feel like you know it all to get started, you will likely never get started. Okay, I'm actually guilty of that from time to time, and thankfully, I have a wife who, gives me that kick when I get too caught up in my head. Analysis paralysis. Okay, so keep that in mind. Okay, have a solid foundation of knowledge and then know where to look when you need help or have questions or see something you've never seen before. Okay, cool. Ivor says, is the program only bookkeeping or does it also cover taxes, like taxes for individuals or small businesses? So it definitely focuses just on bookkeeping. Again, you can make huge margins with bookkeeping services. You don't have to deal with complex tax laws, changing tax laws. Biden's going to change things. Trump changed things. Those notices that come in throughout the year from clients totally throw you off your workflow, off your game. And, you're constantly kind of jumping from fire to fire. So do what's right for you, though. Okay, do what's right for you. I won't say don't do taxes. I'm saying if you love taxes, do them. But don't make the mistake of thinking that, hey, if I do bookkeeping and taxes, I'm going to make twice as much money. People make that mistake thinking they'll multiply their income when they really just split their focus. So now they're jumping back and forth between different roles. They're splitting their marketing efforts. It's something that is not, an instant duplication of revenue. The other thing that's important to note is that a lot of people make the mistake of thinking taxes are the next step from bookkeeping. So in other words, like I do bookkeeping, like taxes is kind of like that next step. And that's not true. Tax is a completely different area. Sure, we use some of the numbers from the books, but tax is completely separate, different rules, different everything. And so you might be asking, well, what's the next logical step after books? That's advisory. Okay, that's taking the data that you've put together, the bookkeeping, and now interpreting it and helping the client make decisions with their business. Okay, that's the next logical progression. So that's something we teach in our higher level mentorship programs is advisory. But again, if you love tax, do tax. I thought I did. Didn't take long before I realized, not for me. All right, Ruben says, what are some recommended accounting softwares? This is a good question. There are, a handful of kind of popular software out there. The market leader by far is QuickBooks, period. And when you're starting a bookkeeping business, again, just like thinking that, hey, bookkeeping and taxes, hey, that's going to open up twice as much revenue. It's easy to think that, hey, if I know QuickBooks and I know something like Xero, which is another accounting software, hey, I'll be able to service twice as many clients. And again, now you're jumping back and forth between lots of different things, okay? As opposed to just specializing, doing one thing and doing it really, really well. There are so many small businesses out there, so many on QuickBooks. There's more than you'll ever be able to focus on. In fact, if you do the math, to get to six figures in a bookkeeping business, you only need an average of 11 clients. So when you think about it, can you find 11 clients on QuickBooks? Absolutely. Absolutely. You can absolutely do six figures with 11 clients. QuickBooks is the primary and market leader out there. I love it. No tool is perfect, so I won't make the claim that QuickBooks is perfect, but no software is. But I'm going to go where the biggest market share is, and that's my biggest opportunity to find clients, okay, because they're on that platform. So that's what I would recommend when it comes to kind of building a bookkeeping business. If you're able to get all of your clients set up kind of in a similar fashion, in other words, you really could go all the way to only getting clients within certain types of industries that have specific types of needs that are all on the same accounting platform. You can kind of build them an assembly line. Okay, your processes and your workflows can be so streamlined and efficient, and you'll be able to do the work more quickly, deliver high value, charge high fees, but not spend forever on their books. When you have clients that are similar like that in a lot of different ways, not only is it easier to do the work, you're more efficient, but now it's easier to hand off the work. We have a lot of people in my mentorship program that they get trained on bookkeeping, they get really good at getting clients, and as the clients come in, they outsource the work. So they're not even doing the work. Okay, they have outsourced bookkeepers, some in the Philippines, some here domestically. You do it however you want to do it, but then you've got the training to know that they're doing a good job. And so when you have optimized systems and workflows and clients that are similar in nature, it makes it very easy to hand those off to someone. Okay, you get that assembly line going and you can be really, really efficient. Speaking of six figures, you might have seen us hand out those 100K Club awards, and we hand those out for, like we do a batch every so often, and we just did a batch, and we had to do like 15 new ones. We've got hundreds of people in the six figures. And again, whether you work with a program and a mentor or not, if this is something that you feel like is right for you, figure it out one way or the other, because it's there. That life that you want is there. Okay, the freedom and the income and all that fun stuff. Okay, so just a note that if you truly believe this is for you, figure out a way to make it happen one way or the other. Okay, I love it. Says, is it mandatory to have certification in QuickBooks in order to serve a client? This is a great question. That's a great question. Let's talk about certifications. The only certification that makes sense when we're talking about getting clients, when we're talking about determining whether or not, we're able to be competent in and proficient in the software is the QuickBooks certification. That's it. I don't recommend any other certification. And it's not because any other certification is bad. Not at all. Any other certification represents an additional opportunity to get more training. Okay, with every certification that you get, there's an educational component. Okay, you can't just pass an exam. You got to, bone up a little bit and study up a little bit. But you can also become a great bookkeeper just by learning it. There are so many resources out there to learn bookkeeping. So many. A piece of paper passing an exam does not make a great bookkeeper. Some of the best bookkeepers I know are not certified. A handful of them aren't even certified in QuickBooks, but they're doing well into the six figures because they just got really, really good at something. Okay, it's just, the certification is just, hey, I passed this exam. Truth be told, I had an interview. I interviewed for a bookkeeping position, and they wanted somebody who was QuickBooks certified, and I wasn't. And I wasn't really even sure I was going to go on this interview, but I ended up deciding to go on it. And so the night before, I got QuickBooks certified. I didn't even know what an invoice was. Okay. And I got certified in like 3 or 4 hours. After I got certified, I still didn't know how to do the work. Okay, I still didn't know anything about it. I still had I didn't go through the training. I just went into the exam, the QuickBooks exam, and I had the training open on another screen. And I just kind of found the answers to the best of my ability. And I was able to pass. Okay, that certification did not mean I was a great bookkeeper by any stretch of the imagination. I ended up getting the job. It ended up really working out, but that's when I had to Google something every 5 minutes. Okay, and bug my coworker who I thought was gonna blow the whistle on me and tell everybody I didn't know what I was doing, but I just got really, really good really, really quickly. Okay, you can do that. So having a certification doesn't mean you're a great bookkeeper. Alternatively, not having a certification doesn't mean you're not a great bookkeeper. Okay, so forget about the certification. The reason why I think the QuickBooks Online certification is great is because it opens up that opportunity once you pass to have a ProAdvisor profile listed. And I'll tell you what, when it comes to getting clients, there is no easier way than having a ProAdvisor profile. Okay. There are almost 1 million small business owners hitting that website looking for bookkeepers every year. Okay, so it's got tons of activity, and I get multiple inquiries a week from that site. It does now two things. Number one, you've got to have it optimized. Okay, I hear a lot of people saying, hey, it doesn't work, or this doesn't, and then I look at their profile and it's like, yeah, of course. You've got no reviews, or you've got one review, or it's your About Me section is one sentence. Yeah, that's not going to work. You've got to have it optimized. The other thing to keep in mind is that if you are in a less populated geographic area, like in a tiny, tiny, tiny little small town or a rural area, there won't be a lot of search activity because that's based on local. Okay, somebody's going to type in their zip code. So you won't get a lot of search activity there. But it's still important to have a profile and have it up because you want to get what's there to be had. When somebody searches, you want to pick up that low-hanging fruit. Okay, it's super easy to get your profile up there. Do it. Get that low-hanging fruit. If it results in 2 clients a year, great. That's 2 on the way to 11 to making 6 figures. So that's the only reason why even the QuickBooks Online certification, I recommend getting that. We do help you get that as part of the course. We've developed proprietary training to help you pass that in a very short period of time. Okay, both the basic and the advanced. The advanced is something that's just kind of like icing on the cake because really the basic is all we need to unlock that ProAdvisor profile. So great question on certifications. On Facebook, someone's commenting best way to market and find new clients. So it's going to depend. It's going to depend in large part on your where you live, what services you offer, what you enjoy doing, all of those types of things. Okay. Again, if you live in a rural area and there's nobody around you, there's going to be very little search activity on ProAdvisor and Google My Business, which, by the way, are huge. Those are monsters in terms of getting clients. Okay, you can get tons of clients just off of those. You'll want to look at something like LinkedIn, where you can actively reach out to people across the country. Utilizing Facebook and Facebook groups properly will help you reach people all over the country. Okay, so it's really going to depend on a certain different factors. Feel free to give me your specific situation, and we can dive into it a little deeper. But those are going to be those are some very, very effective ways. The other thing to remember is that when you talk about getting clients, we've got the organic marketing, which is the free stuff. Okay, ProAdvisor, Google My Business, LinkedIn, Facebook, things like that. And then there's the paid. Okay, paid traffic like Facebook ads, Google ads, those types of things. It's important to remember that whether you use the free stuff or the paid stuff, you're always going to spend something. Okay, with the paid stuff, you're spending money. With the free stuff, you're spending time. And that's fine. If you're getting started and you've got more time, then invest that time. And even if you jump straight to paid ads, I really recommend spending that time to get some of those like Google My Business and ProAdvisor up. Lots of low-hanging fruit there that will produce returns for you month after month. Okay, so why not get that going? It's very easy. But then it's important to remember at some point, and really it's from day one, that your time is much more valuable than your money. Okay, it just is. Time is not money. Time is more than money. Okay, because we don't get time back. We don't have any extra time. Can't create more time. Got a finite amount of time. Money, we can always make more money. Okay, so again, usually from day one, it's nice to start thinking in those terms. But as you start getting clients and fill your roster, you'll say, you know what? Let's hit that fast forward button. Let's do some paid ads. And then I'm not spending time connecting on LinkedIn or reaching out in Facebook groups or anything like that. Now I've got things coming in on autopilot. My time is much more valuable. Okay, so that's a little ditty on finding clients. Okay, feel free to ask me more questions on that if you'd like to. Michael says, I tend toward analysis paralysis. How do you keep up with all the people you are training? Well, I have set up the program in such a way that we've worked with now just over 3,000 people. Okay, and that's in my regular program, Booming Bookkeeping Business. About 3,000 people I've worked with, and then I've got higher level coaching and mastermind programs as well. But I've set these programs up in a way that I can service everybody that comes through. Like, I'm not dealing with 3,000 people asking questions all day, every day. I'm not. The cool thing about it is that people get started. They ask a lot of questions, okay, when they get started. And then they start learning, and they start getting more comfortable. They start spreading their wings and they start flying on their own. And I hear less and less from them. And what is really cool is then as they start building their business, they're active in the Facebook group, now answering other people's questions, which is really cool. It's really great to see. I also have someone that helps me out answering some of the more basic, emails and Facebook posts. But everybody in my program works directly with me. Everybody still has access with me. Weekly coaching calls, support email, the Facebook group. I'm still there. So that's pretty much it. We have at any given time, like I said, I've worked with about just over 3,000 people. But at any given time, we only have about 50 people that are active and asking questions and things like that. So that's how I keep up with it. And as far as analysis paralysis is concerned, just realize that, well, I'll tell you the best piece of advice my dad ever gave me. I was an awful kid in school, okay? And then my dad threatened to send me to military school after 6th grade. Or after 5th grade. So in 6th grade, I kind of straightened up my act a little bit. In 7th grade, they put me in an honors English class. And the first week of school, we were told to write an essay about something. I can't remember what it was. And at this point now, I wanted to do well in school. Okay, I went from being kind of a rotten kid or rotten in school anyway, to to wanting to do well. And I remember that night, it was due the next day. I was just locked up. I was locked up. I didn't know what to write. I didn't want to write the wrong thing. And, puzzled over it for hours. Talked to my dad. He said, write something. Anything. Even if it's the wrong thing, write something. It will either be the right thing or it will lead you to the right thing. And so I did. And that's exactly what happened. And I've used that advice many times in my life where I didn't really know what to do, or I didn't have something completely thought out, and I just did something. Even if it was the wrong thing, I just did something, and it always led to the right thing. I recently saw a quote from, I think it was MLK. I saw it posted on Facebook, and it said something like, "Courage is taking the first step, even when you can't see the entire staircase." And that one hit me like a ton of bricks. And so I'm lucky I've got, again, my wife to kind of keep kicking me. But things like that are really, really important. Every day you don't take action in whatever capacity that applies to you in your life is a day that is now wasted, and that is costing you something. Whether it's lost revenue you could be making with your business, or in relationships. There's a high price to be paid for failure to launch. A super high price. We just don't see it. Like, it's not super tangible, but it's there. We don't see it until it's too late. Anyway, a little word on analysis paralysis. My good friend. Sarah Price says, just wanting to start up. I work for a company that is wanting to get me where I can do the bookkeeping for them, but would love to know where to get started. Sarah, if you haven't seen my free training, I see her on YouTube. There is a link to the free training in the description below. And that actually includes, if you haven't seen my free training, that actually includes a lot of information that you can use to get started on your own today. Towards the end, I do talk about my mentorship program, but I answer all the most common questions on how to get started, talk about insurance, business licenses, all that fun stuff. I show you the top 2 ways of getting clients. I show you how to get QuickBooks for free, all that fun stuff. Free training. There's some free training inside your free QuickBooks account. So, it's a webinar. It's about 50 minutes. It's a great place to start. Okay, it's got stuff that you can actually use. Ruben says, what services do you offer with your current bookkeeping clients? Pretty much just bookkeeping and advisory services. So helping them interpret that information, helping them really grow their business, putting together a plan, a roadmap to get them from where they are to where they want to be. Okay, that's really what we do. But obviously under the umbrella of bookkeeping, we handle payroll, we handle, sales tax, those types of things as well. Okay. All right. On Facebook, do you feel having tax knowledge help people who do bookkeeping? If not, why not? Not a whole lot. It can help a little bit. I won't lie. It can help a little bit. But the tax concepts that are helpful to know for bookkeeping are super easy to learn. I've got a book. It's written by actually the CPA firm that handles my taxes. I don't do my own taxes, and I'm a CPA. That should go to show how much I don't like taxes and how important it is to focus on what you do well. Have somebody else do the rest. They wrote a book on like S corps, which are S corps and LLCs, the most common small business type out there, and they tell you like these just great little strategies and ideas and concepts that help us add value when we're bookkeeping. If you're doing the books for a client, and you'll see this all the time, they're like, I was working with a luxury real estate agent here, okay, doing like $3 million of profit every year. Sole proprietor. So you'll find a lot of sole proprietors or LLCs making gobs of cash when they could just elect to be an S corp and immediately save like 8% in tax just by making that election. So knowing things like that, you don't need to know how to file the paperwork, how to do the taxes, but knowing when it makes sense for somebody to elect that S corp treatment is a huge value add. Okay, so So like you could just pick up a book. You could read some articles online of about like some really helpful tax strategies that can help you add value to your clients. Super simple stuff. Okay, but in general, do not need to know anything about tax to be a great bookkeeper. All right. So Ruben, if you're asking like the services we provide to maximize revenue, that is advisory. That is advisory. Like we charge typically, anywhere between 4 up to 10K a month to clients who we're actually doing advisory work for. So we are handling their bookkeeping, but then we're also giving them, interpreting the data, creating dashboards, creating customized, KPIs that are important for their business, setting the goals, and then creating a plan to help them get there. We dive deep into their business and help them do that. And the really cool thing is that there's a lot of software that plugs into QuickBooks that helps you automate a lot of the advisory services as well. Hey, Paul. Paul says taxes are a good add-on for value, but don't think you need to provide it. Yeah, I talked a little bit earlier about why I don't feel like taxes are a great add-on for bookkeeping. Feel free to watch the replay for a discussion on that. Ivor says, how can I get some real experience before to start the CFO services? Here's the thing, and so this applies for both CFO services, advisory services, as well as bookkeeping. If you wait until, like, if you feel like getting experience, actual working experience is something you need, I'd encourage you to rethink that. Okay, what we think we need and what we actually need are often two separate things. Okay, when you think about it, what's the goal? If we sign a client up, whether it's bookkeeping or CFO, what's the goal? To do a great job for them, right? So it's important, like I said earlier, have a solid foundation of knowledge. And sure, having prior experience at something certainly helps giving you that foundation of knowledge. But you can also get a foundation of knowledge through training, through mentorship, and then know where to look when you need help. Know where to look. Have somebody to lean on. Okay? Don't make the mistake of thinking, hey, I need to be a bookkeeper at a job for years before I can go out on my own. You just need to do a great job. And you can do that through training. You can do that through mentorship. You can get that in ways outside of just having prior experience. I just got started. I had no prior experience before I got that position, bookkeeper position I spoke of earlier. Ruben says, have I ever heard of Patriot software? Yes, I have. I don't use it. We have some people in my program who use the payroll service, but I don't use it myself. Hey, Sherry. Good to see you, Sherry Nelson. Is there an option for you to hire us in your bookkeeping business after going through the course? It seems like it would be difficult to get that first client without having any experience. Well, I'm glad you brought this up. And the truth is, it is not difficult to get the first client without having any experience. It is important to remember and keep this in mind. If you remember nothing else from this live stream, clients only care about one thing and one thing only, and that's whether or not you can solve their problems to help them reach their goals. That's all they care about. If you're able to clearly communicate that to them through your marketing messaging, through the consultation call, you will get all the clients you're looking for. Everything else becomes secondary. How much you charge, how much experience you have, where you went to school, if you have a certification or not, if you're a CPA, all these different things become secondary as long as you can communicate that. Okay, so no, I don't. I mean, I'm all staffed up in my bookkeeping business. We do a lot of business here, but I'm all staffed up. But there's no need to work for anybody else. You don't. You do the freedom. Once you get that first client, you'll wonder. Okay, well, first you'll say, well, that wasn't hard. That wasn't difficult. And second, you'll be like, I am never going back. I am never going back to a 9-to-5. Not when you now have control over everything as far as your income goes. Income, when you work, where you work, vaccine mandates. I don't care how you feel about them. You don't have to worry about any of that stuff. Office politics, none of that. So yeah, no need to. And you can get clients very, very easily. You just have to know what's most effective, and you need to know how to clearly communicate the value you're going to be able to create for clients. And we teach you how to do that. We actually work with you to create your marketing messaging. Okay? All right, cool. Moving along, Michael says, setting fees, is there an average fee versus what the target market will bear, i.e. center city, metropolis versus rural clients? Another great question. A lot of people make the mistake of saying, hey, I live in a small town. You know, Bill, he's in a big city. He's in Los Angeles, actually just right outside of Los Angeles. But he's in a big city. He can charge these big city California fees. Let me ask you a question. If I'm doing a great job, I should be getting good results for my clients. I think we can all agree on that. So if I work for a company here in Los Angeles, maybe they're doing $1 million in revenue, I should be bringing some tangible value to their business. So what's different about that company who's doing $1 million in revenue in Los Angeles versus Iowa? I'm from Iowa. A company in Iowa who's doing $1 million in revenue. The value's the same because we're talking about, dollars, actual dollars. You can have two companies in two different places doing the same amount of revenue. So we're able to provide a very similar amount of value to both of those. So do not make the mistake of thinking that, hey, like I'm in a small town, the prices are different here. That's a fallacy. Now, it is a problem if you're pricing your services hourly. If you're pricing your services on an hourly basis, you're doing a lot of things wrong. And no offense to people who are doing that, okay? No offense to people who are doing that. It's just when you're pricing your services on hourly, then you are really commoditizing what you do. In other words, now a client can compare two bookkeepers that maybe are vastly different in terms of the value they can bring to the table. This bookkeeper might be killer, and this bookkeeper might be not so great, okay? The client doesn't know that. The client really doesn't know that. But what they do know is they see two hourly rates in front of them. And if they're not able to see the value, typically they're going to go with a lower hourly rate. So if you're looking at hourly rates, then yes, somebody in a smaller town, they might be focused on that. Now, if you're focused on value and you're pricing your services based on value that you're able to create, you're able to charge whatever you want to charge, as long as you can clearly communicate that value you can create. Okay? Michael, let me know if you have any other questions on that. Craig Cantor. Hey, Craig. Being in the financial industry, I hold a Series 6 license. Is bookkeeping considered a conflict of interest? I can't speak on that because I don't know 100%. I don't think it is. I know we have a couple people in the program who have their Series 6 license, but I can't give you confirmation on that. I don't think it is, but don't take that to the bank. Okay? Hey, Patrick. Good to see you. Ruben says, Ruben's talking about work on your own accounts, get a trial and figure out how much money is coming in and out. Okay, so you're responding to Sherry in terms of getting some practice. You can also get your free QuickBooks account. You get QuickBooks for free, okay? So bookkeepers and accountants get QuickBooks for free, and anybody can sign up for an account. People just starting, people who've never heard of QuickBooks before. Again, the link is in my free training to get that free account, but you go there, there's free training inside there. You can play around in the sample company. QuickBooks has a sample company that you can play around in. It's really, really cool. All right. Mark says, can you provide your top 5 client profiles, specifically employee headcount, sales volume, industry, etc.? Also, do you see value in specializing in certain niches? If so, which ones? I won't provide my top 5 just because that's, a lot of detail, but I will tell you kind of in broad strokes what generally I look for in the types of clients I work with. I love service-based clients. If we work with service-based clients, we don't deal with things like inventory. Most of the time, we don't deal with things like sales tax. Not to say that I don't deal in those things, but a service-based business is one of those businesses I discussed a little earlier where we can really streamline and be efficient with what we do. Okay. And if we're able to do that, we can provide that big value, provide big fees, charge big fees, and our margins are huge because we're not spending a ton of time on their books. Okay. So service-based industries, when it comes to niches, what is really, really important to know is that certain marketing strategies that you implement to get clients will necessitate you having a niche, or at least a perceived niche. In other words, the person you're reaching out to perceives that you work with a specific type of client. Other marketing strategies, it's important to keep wide open. Okay, let me give you an example. And it's this concept of inbound versus outbound marketing strategies. Inbound strategies are things where people find us, prospects find us. ProAdvisor, Google My Business. Okay, they're finding us. I have no control over whether or not a real estate investor, a restaurant, a chiropractor, any of those. I have no choice who reaches out to me on ProAdvisor or finds me on Google My Business. In those marketing strategies, I want to stay wide open. I want to stay general. Okay, I don't want to turn anybody away because I really enjoy working with people from a lot of different industries. For me, if the margins are big enough, absolutely I'll work with different types of clients, even though I might not be able to put them on that assembly line as much. But if those margins are there, that's good for my bottom line. So those I'll keep general. Outbound, where we're reaching out, actively reaching out to prospects. LinkedIn, Facebook ads, things like that. It's really important to have, since we can accurately target the types of people we're reaching out to, we can target chiropractors, we can target lawyers, we can target those people on these platforms. It's really important to speak their language and to speak in a message that resonates with to them. Okay, so that's an important note about niches. Okay, let's get the best of both worlds, both that inbound and outbound, that perceived niche and the true niche. You get the general, but then you get also the people that are in an industry that you're specifically targeting. Okay, you can get the best of both worlds, having a niche and being general in some of the more inbound strategies. In terms, just to round out the question, in terms of like employee headcount, that's going to vary. Again, I have some clients that's just a one-man band doing millions of dollars in revenue. So that one's kind of hard. Sales volume, when we talk about revenue, we really work with clients that are between like $1 and $20 million in revenue. Sometimes we'll work with clients that are a little lower than that, but that's generally kind of where we're at, to answer your question. Kunal says, can I do a full-time work and start a bookkeeping business? Yes. Most of the people who I work with in my mentorship program, they start on the side. They build their bookkeeping business up and then they quit their job. We've had many people do that. Okay, many people do that. So absolutely. 5 to 10 hours a week is all it takes to commit yourself. And then in 6 to 8 weeks, you can expect to finish and start getting clients. So absolutely, you can do that. I love it. Says, I have a prospective client who's a real estate agent. The client has not registered as an LLC. What are the pointers to consider in servicing a real estate agent with respect to bookkeeping? Well, you're going to want to first have a conversation with this person. Okay, and you're going to want to, you can see some of the prior videos we've done in terms of how to handle consultations, to ask them what some of the problems are in their business. Okay, we really need to understand what the problem is, what the pain is in their business, and keep drilling down, asking more and more questions, getting more and more specific until we can hopefully quantify how much that problem is costing them in their business in terms of lost revenue or whatever it may be. Okay, so you're going to want to, with any niche that you're talking about, any industry that you work in, it's important to understand that prospect's specific pain, specific problem, and then quantify it. Okay, assign a dollar amount to it. If you're able to do that, then you're able to value price, which is say, okay, great, you've got this $200,000 a year problem. How would you like, if I can solve this problem for you for a fraction of that, would that make sense to you? And solve it for 25% of what it's costing them. Okay, that's the value you're able to bring to the table. Okay, that's what I would recommend in terms of that. You just got to dive in and find out what their issues are, what their problems are. Michael, you're saying, thanks. What's the best email or way to contact to review the offering? Best thing to do is watch the free training. Watch the free training video. If you've already watched the free training video, feel free to reach out via email. BillVF@boomingbookkeeping.com. BillVF@boomingbookkeeping.com, or send me a message on Facebook. A message to the Booming Bookkeeping business page. Okay. Just reach out. Marie, hey Marie, does a bookkeeper who is not a CPA need a CPA to sign financial statements? Well, financial statements that we typically are going to produce are just going to the client. Typically, the client's got access to QuickBooks anyway. What I like to do with my clients is I can set the P&L to be emailed directly from QuickBooks. Okay, so that they're able to just log right in to QuickBooks and check out the financial statements. So you don't have to sign them. When it comes to financial statements that a third party may rely on, like a loan officer, because the business is trying to get a loan, somebody like that, then yeah, if those third parties require a review or some sort of assurance on those numbers, that's got to be done by a CPA. Yeah, but that's not something that, most of the time, they've got a CPA. We're doing the bookkeeping, they've got a CPA, and it's great that there's a team like that because now there's checks and balances. If somebody's doing everything, that's the other thing you've got to keep in mind when you're thinking about doing both taxes and bookkeeping, is that if a mistake is made in the books, if the same person is doing the tax return, that mistake is going to end up on the tax return. If there are two people, a bookkeeper and a CPA doing the work, there's checks and balances. There's two sets of eyes on things. Okay, so Crochet says, what are the services as a bookkeeper? Well, you'll be working in QuickBooks. You'll be classifying the financial transactions for a business. Essentially, you'll become really great at using QuickBooks. Okay, and you'll be generating the information they need, profit and loss, balance sheet, some financial reports that they'll use to grow their business. Okay, for more information, feel free to check the link in the description below to my free training. Okay, and that'll give you some more information on what a bookkeeper is. All right. Series 6 is only a conflict if you're doing the books for a traded company that you might be buying or selling. Thank you for that input. I appreciate that. I did not know that. Crochet says, if you only do invoicing, keeping track of the invoices status, are you called a bookkeeper? Well, that's a gray area, maybe, but probably not. Bookkeeper, you're probably involved in kind of more the full life cycle of the books. Okay, so classifying transactions, doing reconciliations, maybe some AR and AP, those types of things. Okay, but if you're already doing some invoicing, you've got a great background for being successful with something like this. Kunal says, do you have bookkeeper community so that we can learn from each other? Absolutely. You can go in my Facebook group. I've got a very active Facebook group. So there's a link in the description below, and you can join that Facebook group. Absolutely. Janine, what has been the most successful avenue of obtaining clients? I talked about this a little bit earlier. The most successful by far is creating a sales funnel and using Facebook ads or LinkedIn to get it in front of your target audience. Absolutely, bar none, the most effective way. But there are plenty of free ways to do it. We have people hitting six figures in my mentorship program using free strategies to market. ProAdvisor profile, getting your QuickBooks ProAdvisor profile up. Google My Business, using LinkedIn for free, using Facebook and Facebook groups. Okay, those are the things that are really effective right now. I love it says, what are the things to consider to determine that reasonable service fee to charge your client? How to justify a per hour fee versus a fixed amount? You may want to check out some of the previous videos I've done to talk about that. I think the first live stream I did a few weeks ago is like the holy grail of pricing your bookkeeping services, and you'll get the information there. Okay, that's how you're able to do that fixed value-based fee versus an hourly fee, and how you're able to help the client see how that's a great deal. Okay, let's see. AS says, what criteria metric do you use to charge your clients? Again, check out, it's all about value pricing. Asking the client the questions we need to ask to determine their specific issues and problems in their business. Assigning $1 of value to those problems. How much are those problems costing them in missed revenue? And then charging a percentage of that. You do that, if you're out there and you already have a bookkeeping business and you're charging hourly or you're charging some random fixed fee, switching to value pricing will instantly grow your revenue while reducing the amount of work you do. because you'll have this conversation with your clients. You'll set goals. You'll tell them how you're going to give them a plan to get there, and that your fees are changing. And here's your new fee. And some of them will leave, which is great. Usually when you do this, 50% or more than 50%, 50 to like 60%, 65% stay and pay those increased fees because they see the value. You've got proven success with them. So they're staying. They know how valuable you are. They saw the value that you've created for them because you're laying it out in that meeting, and they stay. And because those clients stayed at higher fees, you're making more than you were making before, and you're doing less work because some clients walked. That is a great outcome for you. Okay, so in the event that you're not value pricing, check out some of my other videos and let's start implementing some of that stuff. Okay. Michael says, it's been helpful. You need to move on. Sounds good. Sounds good. All the best to you. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Janine says, are tax accountants and CPAs viewed as competition? How do you differentiate and appeal to clients as knowledgeable as CPAs or tax accountants? Most tax accountants and CPAs don't do bookkeeping. Some do, most don't. But so in a way they could be competition, but remember what we said a little earlier. The most important thing you can take away from this is clients only care about one thing, not whether or not you're knowledgeable or experienced or have a CPA license. They only care about whether or not you can solve their problems to help them reach their goals. That's all they care about. If you can communicate that to them clearly, you'll get all the clients you need, and you'll beat out people way more experienced, way more, certified than you are. Okay, tax accountants and CPAs, for the most part, they're working on volume. Okay, volume. We're distinguishing ourselves based on value. Okay, you do that, you're in great shape. All right, Mark says, thanks for your time and viewpoints, very helpful. Do you actually obtain clients from your ProAdvisor link? Yes, I've chatted with many certified folks and very few have any leads or clients from it. Mark, I'm telling you, I am telling you, I get multiple leads every week. People in my program are getting clients every day. If someone has a profile and isn't getting any prospects from it, one of two things is happening. Likely the latter. But either they live in a super, super small area, super small, like very rural. So like there's just not a lot of search activity. Okay, that's one indication. So they need to be using other marketing strategies that allow them to work with clients across the country. But the other situation is the one that most people suffer from, and flat out they just have a terrible profile. They just have an awful profile. Okay, no picture, bad picture, no reviews or one review, terrible about me section, doesn't focus on value, doesn't focus on benefits. It's like, I was a controller for 5 years doing this, and it's like, that's great, but we've got to hit clients with our value proposition right up front. Okay, they'll stop reading. Clients want to know what's in it for me. Okay, so when you're creating all of your marketing messaging, keep that in your head. What's in this for me? Okay, but that's what happens. I mean, I was in a Facebook group where people had this conversation. They say, yeah, it doesn't really work for me. It doesn't really work for me. I clicked on their Facebook profile so I could see where they were from. I went to the ProAdvisor profile, found their profile, and it was awful, all of them. Okay, so if you're able to optimize that profile properly, you can rise to the top of the search rankings, and you can get tons of calls. Okay, this is how it works. Crochet, happy to answer your question. Marie says, can I start my online bookkeeping business before registering it? Yes, absolutely. In some areas, you may need a business license, but in some areas you don't. So you can just get started, especially if you just get started as a sole proprietorship, which is what I recommend. Okay, if you do that, you can just start your business. You don't have to file any paperwork with anybody, unless you are using a business name that's other than your name. But I recommend just getting started. Let's get a client, then let's handle some of those things. So my last name is Von Fumetti. Von Fumetti Bookkeeping, no LLC, no nothing. Let me get started. Let me get clients. And so that's what I did. Okay. But again, if you live somewhere where you need a business license, you'll want to look into that. But those are pretty cheap. Those are pretty cheap. Michael says, double checking, where's the link for reviewing the training? Not seeing it. It should be in the description below. Okay, if you just go to boomingbookkeeping.com, Michael, you'll get a link to the registration. To watch the free training. Okay, and in that free training, I give you actual information you can use to get started on your own right away. I do mention my mentorship program at the end, but for people who want me to walk them through the entire process, but you can use everything in that free training right away. Okay, how would you go from current fees for a signed year-long engagement to a value-based pricing? Would you wait till year end? No, I would not. In fact, right now is a great time to do it because we just started a new year. But no, you would, just in broad strokes, I touched on this a little earlier, and we're going to wrap up here in about 3 or 4 minutes, but you pull the reports. Let's determine how much value you've actually brought to this client. What specific results were you able to get this client? Okay, let's pull reports. Let's see what they were doing, where they were at before you started working with them, where they're at now, having worked with you. Highlight specific areas of increased value, especially areas that you've been instrumental in creating that value. Take into account other things, other areas of their business that you've helped drive forward. Review that information with them. Review that information. That's the value that you've actually created for this client. And then ask them, talk about goals. Okay, what are our goals for the next 1, 2, 3 years? Okay, what's our plan to get there? Let's put together a plan. Okay, this is what I'd like to be doing, is putting together this plan. I'd like to be proactive. And then tell them, I've made the decision in my business to kind of alter sort of the services I offer, as you can see, because we're talking about a plan to get you to where you want to be, this goal of doubling your revenue in 2 years, and my fees. And so, kind of based on what we're discussing here, here are the new fees. Okay. And then from there, some clients will be like, sure, that works for me. Some clients will be like, hey, why is this happening? And you have to, handle those objections and answer those questions. And we'll be doing more of that on future lives in terms of like, well, but I like the way things are now, and what you say to that. And we can go into some more detail on that, but that's what you'll want to do. And I do recommend I'm glad you asked, because it's something you don't want to wait on. It can change your business overnight. More revenue, less work. Okay. Tatiana, I just applied for my CPA license. I would like to start my own business. I do work for an accounting firm now. Do you offer just a marketing training for people like me? Tatiana, we have lots of people who sign up for the program and jump straight to the marketing, pricing, and consultations training. Okay, so there's no separate, things aren't offered piecemeal, but that's really, honestly, where you earn a return on your investment. Sure, we'll train you up and make sure you're a great bookkeeper, but you can be a great bookkeeper, and without clients, you don't have a business. So that's where the program really pays for itself. The marketing and pricing and handling consultations. I also have, we have people joining that have existing businesses, existing experiences. We have a CPA that's been in practice for 30 years, and they join for those reasons. I also have kind of higher level programs where people work even more closely with me to get them, really, really great results too. So it might be right for you. Check out the free training to determine that if you'd like, or find me on Facebook, and I'll answer any other questions you have. All right, I am all caught up on questions, which is good because I've got to run. We have a mastermind coaching call I've got to get to. So hope you've enjoyed this. Again, subscribe to the YouTube channel, join that Facebook group. Links are below. And you can also comment both on this YouTube video and on the Facebook video in the Facebook group, and I will answer questions afterwards. Okay, so if you're watching the replay, reach out. Just get started. That's my message to you. Figure out a way to make this dream happen. It's there. Demand is super hot right now. No reason why you can't get started and do some incredible things in a very short period of time. So again, signing off until next week. Have a great one. We'll talk